Hello everybody, my name is Valerie. I'm from Lincoln Park Zoo, and I'm here to welcome you to the Young Researchers Collaborative. This year, you're going to be entering a partnership with the zoo in order to produce your own original research. This year, you're going to be studying biodiversity and ecology. Ecologists like to study the relationship between non-living and living things in an environment. So for example, we might be interested in the kinds of plants and animals that might be living in a space, but we would also like to pay attention to the temperature and the water quality and the geology of the area as well, and see how that might affect the kinds of species that we would see. This year, you are going to be studying two different places and comparing them. When we compare something, we like to look at the things that might be similar and different between them. That's what is called a comparative study. In your case, you're going to be studying the nature boardwalk as well as your neighborhood or your schoolyard. And you are going to be studying the biodiversity of those two places. Biodiversity is a long word that means all the living things in one space. So you're going to be studying the plants and the animals, as well as keeping track of all the factors of an environment that you can see. So keeping track of all that information can get kind of tricky, so we have tools to help us out. One of the tools we're going to be using this year is a data sheet that looks just like this. It's a biodiversity survey data sheet. Now you'll notice on one side of our paper we have these really great big boxes where we can draw something that we are observing. Oftentimes we might be in the field and we might observe a plant or an animal that we just don't know what it is and we can't identify it at the moment. So what we can do is make sure that we draw it very carefully, add a lot of detail, and later on when we're back at school or back at home, we can use some books or different resources to try to identify that species. So we can draw the plant that we're seeing, for example. Under physical description, we can add what it looks like, what color it is there a certain texture to it? All of the information you can add. It'll help you in the long run. Our population count means how many of those plants or that animal are there around. And additional observations would be anything else that you think would be interesting to remember or to know about this species. So each row would represent one different species that you might observe. So for example, at the end of a day at Nature Boardwalk, you might have many of these filled out because you're going to see so many different kinds of plants and animals. And you and your group will be able to hold on to all of these and make sure that you have location recorded as Nature Boardwalk. And at the end of the school year, you will have so much information about the living things that you've seen at Nature Boardwalk. Now you can feel free to record any other observations you might notice about the landscape that might help you in your study. You're going to be using this same tool when you're studying your neighborhood and looking at the composition and the biodiversity of either your neighborhood or your schoolyard as well. So this data sheet is going to be your best friend this year. So at the end of the school year, you're going to have two different sets of data, one for Nature Boardwalk and one for your neighborhood. And you will be able to then compare the two and see how the species that you observed and the non-living features of that environment may be different. So the next time you will see somebody from the zoo is when you come for your zoo visit to collect your data. So between now and then, I encourage you to start noticing the plants and animals that are living around your neighborhood and start thinking about what you might be interested in studying. So until then, good luck, and we look forward to seeing you at the zoo. So goodbye, everybody.